Mlmrecovery. It's a community for recovering victims of pyramid schemes, MLMs, multi-level marketing, and other scams. Whether you are a consultant or your best friend turned to the dark side, this is a place of support to those who feel victimized. Stories, advice, or references are all Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? I hope that you are all doing very, very well. Today, I wanted to talk about multi-level marketing recovery. I know that this is a controversial topic. A lot of people do not like it when we say that we are victims of pyramid schemes, when we are victims of cults, and that we are in recovery from multi-level marketing. However, I personally do think that you need to go through some recovery, and I myself had to do some counseling after leaving. And therefore, I like to do videos where we go through r/MLM recovery, and we just kind of discuss what's going on out there, how are people recovering from these. I often talk about how I'm recovering from these. And it's an important topic to talk about. It's not playing victim. There's this whole thing in our world right now where if you're victimized by something and then you discuss how you're a victim, apparently you're playing victim. That's not a thing. Stop the victim shaming and let's all just come together and all help each other recover and survive from things like multi-level marketing, pyramid schemes, scams, and cults. My experience with Amway. So I've been approached by Amway twice. I figured I'd put my experience here for others. Hopefully it helps. I've never sold any Amway products, was almost initiated, but couldn't pull the trigger. It's a good thing that you're inexperienced with guns. I'm going to change some names for obvious reasons. Matt will be the Amway rep that approached me at my management position. Dave will be the high-ranking diamond, and Giselle will be my co-worker's mentor. Really, Giselle, out of all the names you chose? My first time I was approached, I was as a sales manager at my old job and recently through a co-worker at my new job. The first time was actually delivered quite well, made me feel unique and special since he didn't approach any of my staff. Hidden under the guise of mentorship and helping people, which I'm all about. Me too, that's how they got me as well. Now up to this point, my job was pretty good. I was well read, had many skills in marketing, investments, content creation, etc. But who doesn't like an extra side hustle that could help people as well? Exactly. So I decided to meet with this guy, Matt, and got interviewed for a sit down with his mentor. Now, I'm a time-sensitive kind of guy. I have a lot on my plate and time is money. I met with him first, gave him my story, my life experience, my skills, why I'm interested, blah blah. However, he still wouldn't tell me what this opportunity was. Standard Amway needs to make sure they can trust your mindset to be open-minded because it's easy to judge a book by the cover without hearing the context or both sides of the argument. And again, I'm just going to put it out there. All companies should tell you what company you're applying for right off the bat. If you're going to one of these meetings and they won't even tell you what company it is, huge red flag. I made it clear that trust goes both ways. I'm more than open-minded, and since I met him more than halfway, and that if he didn't tell me by next meeting, I'd have to pass. He agreed, gave me some homework in summarizing the business of the 21st century by Robert, I'm going to butcher this, Kiyosaki, and said he would disclose all my next meeting. So, he's going to disclose what company it is at the next meeting. Let's see. Funny thing, my boss is actually good friends with Kiyosaki and I'm familiar with his work. So I figured this could be an opportunity, like-minded people think alike. So we meet again. Same spot, same time. I arrive early as always. Noticed homeboy, Matt, is meeting with another person before me. Thought it was strange since he made it seem like this is a very special opportunity and he doesn't approach just anyone. Cut to the chase. We get down to business when he's done with the other guy, who happens to have another copy of the book I was asked to summarize. He lays out the plan, the business name, the general gist of operations, and asks me if I'd like to meet his mentor. I agree and we meet with his mentor. His mentor Dave seemed like a cool guy, happens to be an extremely high diamond member, highest in my area ever apparently. We talk, he goes in detail about the plan and how this mentorship is helpful for everyone, which is the big reason I'm there. Some of the key takeaways were about coaching people through past experiences, since you'd build new relationships that weren't available to you in your current network state, and to make money while doing it through selling goods and subscriptions that would otherwise be spent at other businesses and simply putting it into your business. I'd have to attend mandatory meetings, interviews, communicate with upline and downline. Now, here's where I got ousted by Matt. I was told about communicate and some of the subscription-based items that were not required, but heavily recommended for new recruits. I thought the startup was too heavy for certain people, and if Amway was such a blessing, why should I assume most of the labor and heavy lifting for my team? I wanted to outsource some of the subscription with free-to-use options. Use Messenger or WhatsApp for communication, sell on social media within the rules since I'm versed in copyright laws, and the do's and don'ts of social media marketing, just to make the startup easier for my team. I was going to go to the meetings, read the books, generate the plans with my mentors, and relay the message to my team so they wouldn't need to sacrifice time and money in such a crucial conversion time to start up, since most people have day jobs, kids, other obligations. I'd say it'd be more attractive with a lower overhead cost, especially if it's all about mentoring people. I had this plan to make it easy and attractive. Since the overall reputation of Amway is negative, why not put a positive spin to it? To put time and opportunity in my team's pocket by doing most of the work, since it's duplicable, right? And taking away most of the startup risk. I was met with a host of negative comments, saying we can't coach something we've never done. Why reinvent the wheel if it's not broken? The whole idea is to be easy and duplicable. Why go against this vetted process? I told them I wouldn't be reinventing the wheel necessarily, simply modernizing it, that's all. Going from a stone wheel to a rubber one to keep the analogy short. Best of all, Matt kept going on about being duplicable and that he wouldn't be able to help coach me or advise me if I get into trouble since he doesn't have any experience with the skills that I had listed. He said I would be essentially traveling down a road no one really travels, since the plan they have works and mine is unproven at best. I was told that higher tier promotions were in fact board approved by Amway and other higher members, which was a no-no for me. I wasn't provided an annual tax statement to prove income was genuine or to see what kind of costs we needed at higher tiers. I restated my views on this, but still expressed interest because I felt I could be a great benefit in this business and could really help people if they just let me try my plan. Matt then cut the interview short, simply said that the offer isn't available anymore and told me they didn't need people like me. Overall, hated the dude after that. For a time, I let it go, but he's entitled to his opinion. I was more upset that they couldn't see my view to really create an equal opportunity for people who I tried to recruit instead of an uphill battle. And that is the thing with Amway. And a few things here. So first of all, like I said, if you go to a meeting to have an interview and they don't even tell you what job you're interviewing for, that's a red flag. Cut it short, leave. Your time is money. You put too much time into this. Secondly, the reason why they don't want you to make it easier or lower cost to anyone is because it's a pyramid scheme hiding behind the loophole of products. If you make it cheaper, then they won't be able to rip people off for as much as they want. Everything is a proven system in these MLMs, and they're like that for a reason. It is so that they can further manipulate you into the business, into the predatory natures, into the pyramid scheme. And that is why if you are someone that has an innovative mind and you want to create your own ways to do things, you often do get shafted. So just keep it in mind also that if you aren't ever provided an annual tax statement, that might also be an issue. If you're expected to work a business you should be provided with all of that information. And that's just another way to prove that when you work for these companies, you're not running your own business, you're working for their business. My mom and sibling won't stop pestering me. Is that a question or a statement? So, I love my family, but they just won't give up on trying to convince me to work with their MLM. I gave them my ID, joined, so they'd leave me alone, but now they want me to convince my friends. I am student and because of this lockdown forced to study at home, so they take advantage of that and tell me to contribute to the family business and how working a job will get you nowhere. I've worked in an MLM for a few years when I was very young and I regret the time wasted. However, my family taunts me that, oh, you will get serious when we get that dream car and you will realize the value when you, etc., etc. They don't even talk like fucking humans on dinner table, just numbers and taunts. The worst part is I am afraid that they will become successful and I will regret not trying it. WTF, right? If it makes you feel any better, anytime that people are successful in an MLM industry, it is because they actually ripped off the people under them. So they are hurting other people in order to get their success. So I always tell people, if you're ever worried about that, think of your ethics, think of your morals. Is that the way that you want success? Is by stepping on other people and hurting others? Or do you want success by just going off and being successful and doing your own thing? That's what you have to ask yourself. So even if they are successful, they're not successful in an ethical way. You want to be successful in an ethical way. So drop that regret right now. You will not regret that. There is no way to regret not ripping people off for success, because the success is also very short-lived with these things. You're lucky if you get a good 10 years with a company, even at the top. And like I said, there's a lot of grimy things you gotta do to get there and then stay there. There is no dream-free car. We've discussed this a lot. I'm planning on doing an entire video where I am just going to talk about the car thing because it's driving me insane so much. My biggest worry here is that your family is entering being hunt bots, the very, very cult phase. And I really am worried for your family, their financial status, all of that, because if they are putting a bunch of their money into this business, we all know they're not getting the returns that they need. They're always spending more than they're making in these things. And so it worries me when I hear that an entire family has signed up. Again, I have a video coming out on child indoctrination and MLMs very soon. And so it's something that we have to talk about because things like this happen. So we have a student here, a child. They don't want to prey on their fellow students, on their friends. However, they have parents that are pushing them to. It's kind of gross. As a mom, I'm not impressed. I don't think it's a good thing to do. I cannot imagine even when I was in an MLM trying to get my daughter to do that for me. It's just, there's ickiness all around. And so I get very worried. I get very worried about the cult manipulation tactics. I get very worried about all of that. So I do really hope that your family is okay. Please be strong. Continue on. Continue not preying on your friends for them. Hold your own, and hopefully you can get out of that house soon and then go get a real job, and you will be highly more happy and successful than they will ever be chasing that fake dream car, baby. What was the turning point for you to leave? Very important conversation that I wanted to have. So when I saw this posted, I of course went, we need to talk about this. I basically grew up in the Amway organization, specifically LTD. So again, explain to me how these MLMs are not cults when we now have people coming out saying that they grew up in these organizations and had their families try to indoctrinate them into these. These are cults, guys. My parents joined when I was 12, and as you can imagine, I got wrapped up in the worst way. It wasn't until a couple of years ago I was able to leave and regain my identity. I know for me it took a drastic series of events to force me out. What was it for you? Now, this one I wanted to share because this is interesting. Very interesting to me. And I gotta say, I love this university. Whatever university this is, like, good on them. Can we get all the universities to do this, please? That would be great. Got a letter from my university threatening me that they would kick me out because I was in my 6th year of a 3-year program. If I was kicked out, I would lose my room on the university campus. So it meant that I had to go back living with my parents, but this was not possible. So basically it meant that I would become homeless. Decided to get out and focus on my degree. But by then it was kind of too late. I had incurred over $50,000 in student loan debt. After I got out, I kept defending the MLM industry, saying that it's a good plan and that it was my fault I had failed. It took me until this year, 2020, to finally admit that MLMs are a scam. Was in an MLM from 2012 to 2015. So this person was in university. As you can imagine, they were being told to work their business constantly to the point they were taking twice as long to finish their program. And that is what these MLMs do to students. And as you can see, they fell into the whole, it was my fault I had failed thing. And that's the manipulation. That's the cult-like tactics. If you have to go through a whole thing where you unprogram your mind and you reprogram it to be a regular thinking, feeling person after you leave something, you're leaving a cult. You're not just leaving a business opportunity. You're not just leaving a company. You're not just leaving a family or friend circle. No, you're leaving a cult, okay? And that is very worrisome. What was it for me that got me to leave? Well, for me, it was actually a mixture of things. I left It Works due to be coming to the realization that they were telling people to get off of medication, specifically for things like complex post-traumatic stress disorder and bipolar disorder, which you do need medication for, to take Confianza. That was an issue to me. As someone that had worked in the mental health field on medication management, that was highly unethical, and I could not be with a company anymore that was okay with promoting that. And like, I have spoken about this before, but I kept asking them for more information and none was ever provided to me. I kept trying to find out why this thing should replace. Nothing was ever provided to me. And so eventually I realized that they were doing more harm than good with that, and I needed to leave. I then joined Scentsy several months later, convincing myself it was a safe MLM. I was actually anti-MLM when I joined Scentsy. I've talked about this a lot. I've talked a lot about how I was anti-MLM, but I convinced myself that Scentsy was a safe MLM and that the products were the safest ones on the market. It was the safest MLM company on the market, and there was no way that I wasn't going to be able to be successful with it, since it was so safe. And of course, it ended up very much like It Works, and eventually I just was over the whole MLM cult-like mentality, mean girls, which Scensy's very bad for kind of thing. And so I left. I was not making money. I made probably about $50-$60 and called it a day. And I mean over what I had put in, and then called it a day. I probably did spend about $200 worth on products that I never got to use because they actually did go bad. They say they don't go bad, but they went bad, okay? I cannot burn this wax. What are you ladies talking about? You say it never goes bad. That's such a lie, such a lie. And so, see, these companies that lie about products, things like that, I just can't do it. I'm like, hey, listen, this is a lie. This is some bullshit. I'm out. And that's why I left. And then once I left Scentsy, I went full-fledged into anti-MLM and started advocating very heavily, especially for the fact that Scentsy is not a safe MLM and not one that people should be, promoting the products of, using. I often have talked about how a lot of people in the anti-MLM community still use Scentsy, and I'm not very pleased with that. I tell them to stop. So that's kind of what I came out here to do. I wanted to talk about holistic medicine and the dangers with it. I wanted to talk about that specifically because of what happened with me and It Works and the Confianza and replacing mental health meds. And so I wanted to talk about all of that. I thought it was important to talk about that a hell of a lot more important than it was to try to sell some warmers and wax. And so here I am. I think we all go through a time where we all think that it was our faults. That's because it's put into our heads very heavily that if this does not work out for you, it is all your fault. That is something else that I have been out here trying to fight against. And a great example of that is if you take a look at several of the anti-MLM advocates and how successful they have been with those businesses of being an anti-MLM advocate on Instagram, on YouTube, on Reddit, you will see them all being extremely, extremely successful. So I must ask you, what was the difference? They have not done anything different than they would have done in their MLM, and they hustled just as hard as they would have done in their MLM, all of the ones that were in MLMs, and they are crazy successful now. So as you can see, the anti-MLM community is filled with a group of actual hustlers, people that busted their butts off and do every single day, and probably did for one of these companies, were not successful, and then they went and did some anti-MLM advocacy for a few months and blew up. So, again, don't tell me that people that are in MLMs are not working, because they are. They're working their butts off, and one of the things that we get very upset with out here after we leave when we're speaking out against it is that whole thing, where they then try to blame it on the person for not being successful in a business that is set up for them to fail. I mean, what kind of mindfuck is that, okay? So let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear from you. If you were in an MLM, why did you leave? What got you to finally say enough with this industry? They're harmful. I want to speak out. If you're in this industry of anti-MLM, I especially want to hear from you, and I want to hear why it is that you started speaking out. I want to see videos being done on this. I want to see people coming out here and telling me why it's so important that they are anti-MLM and they speak out against these companies. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will feature you in a video. And you will hear my daughter in the background. That is what happens when you are a stay-at-home mom and you are recording on a laptop with a microphone in your living room while your daughter is not in school. If you would like me to get more professional, please come join my Patreon. Donate money. Go for it. However, I'm probably just going to make a little teeny tiny little studio in my house because I'm not trying to be a professional YouTuber. I'm just here to talk about MLMs and pyramid schemes. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed that video. I like to go through that subreddit every once in a while to discuss recovering, how you can kind of help your friends out of pyramid schemes, that kind of thing. Again, let me know in the comments down below what made you anti-MLM or what made you leave MLMs, however you want to look at that. And no matter where you are, what you're doing, I hope that you have a fabulous, fabulous day. Keep on doing your recovery. It is okay to say you're in recovery from cults. It's okay to say you're in recovery from scams, pyramid schemes, multi-level marketing. Don't let people victim shame you out there. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye! So I won't be ignored, I'm here to do me like you a whore. You just be talking into a whole bunch of shit you don't even know. I need all of yous to go, half you bitches scorned, half you bitches horned on the same motherfucker. Deadbeat wannabe, hustler, broke cusser, then you got that other sucker. I be cutting ties and watch a bitch switch, like I'm Edward Scissorhands, snip, snip, snip. They coming at me and I dip, dip, dip. When these motherfuckers talking nothing but lies from their lips, all they spit. When your queen is spitting fire, they're looking a bit charred, and I just keep climbing higher, all they spit. When your queen is spitting fire, they're looking a bit charred, and I just keep climbing higher. I'ma take my time, it's okay, I'll do my thing. When I reach the top, it ain't you I'll bring. Gotta get up my shovel, ready for the shallow digs. I don't need to get a handle digging.